This February, iHeartRadio celebrates Black History Month by amplifying the voices that define Black excellence.
Reflect upon and celebrate history and culture.
From curated playlists celebrating iconic Black artists to powerful podcasts.
My grandmother marched with Martin Luther King.
And Black History Month radio. We're shining a light on the music, stories, and culture that inspire us all.
Black history is our history.
Celebrate with us.
History in the making.
Listen on the free iHeartRadio app.
This Week in Gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello gamers, welcome back to This Week in Gaming. I'm Naomi Kyle. This week we're catching up on tariffs in video games, a Switch 2 Direct update, PSN going down, the Magic the Gathering cinematic universe, and a special announcement from me. We've got all of this week's gaming news, so let's hop right in. I mentioned briefly at the end of last week's episode that I would have some very special news to share with you. Well, the 5th Annual Canadian Game Awards is premiering this weekend on February 15th at the TIFF Lightbox in Toronto, and they have asked me to host the ceremony, which is such an incredible honor, and I am so grateful for the opportunity. I won't be doing it alone, though. I will be joined by Matthew Rondina, aka Dapper Tux, who will be my co-host for the evening. The Canadian Game Awards will highlight Canadian talent across 16 categories, including awards for Best Debut Indie, Studio of the Year, and Game of the Year. If you would like to watch the show live, you can tune in on Twitch at twitch.tv/cgameawards on Saturday, February 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, or 5 p.m. Pacific Time for those on the West Coast. See you all there. Shortly after his inauguration as United States President, Donald Trump began signing various orders into law, drastically altering the basis of U.S. policy. One of these new orders was the imposition of tariffs on Mexico, China, and Canada. These new tariffs went into effect last week, and members of the Entertainment Software Association, or the ESA, fear that these tariffs could harm the video game industry. The ESA represents the world's largest video game companies like Sony, Microsoft, Epic Games, and Nintendo, and they have called on Donald Trump to meet with them and other members of the private sector in a statement that reads, "Video games are one of the most popular and beloved forms of entertainment for Americans of all ages. Tariffs on video game devices and related products would negatively impact hundreds of millions of Americans and would harm the industry's significant contributions to the U.S. economy. We look forward to working with the administration and Congress to find ways to sustain the economic growth supported by our sector." The United States and China account for the vast majority of revenue in the video game market. We don't yet know how severely these new tariffs could impact the video game market. This could mean that American and Chinese consumers will look to buy digital goods over physical goods, which could carry a higher price tag due to the tariffs. The reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2 gave us a very short glimpse at the Switch 2's various design features and Mario Kart 9, but not much else. Nintendo has assured fans that more details about their next console will be revealed during their next Nintendo Direct that is scheduled to release on April 2nd. Thanks to a recent update from Nintendo, we now know that the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct will air at 9 a.m. Eastern Time or 6 a.m. Pacific Time. With just 50 days left until the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct airs, gamers around the globe are making their predictions for what we can expect to see in the Direct. I think for sure we'll know the release date and we'll get the price point for the Switch 2 by the end of the Direct. I really want to know what is going on with the Joy-Con and how Nintendo plans to implement mouse technology into mainline Nintendo titles. Nintendo has a history of kicking off their Directs very early in the morning, so don't stay up too late and set your Nintendo Alarmo for an early start. And if you miss it, fear not, because, of course, I'll be covering the Switch 2 Direct at length in episode 61 of This Week in Gaming. Last week, the sequel to Kingdom Come: Deliverance launched on PS5, PC, and Xbox Series platforms, and on its first day on the market, it sold 1 million units. Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 has earned 9 out of 10s from respected video game news outlets, and it currently has a Metascore of 88 on Metacritic. On Steam, Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 peaked with over 256,000 concurrent players, placing Kingdom Come 2 in the running for the 50 most popular Steam games of all time. Warhorse Studios, the game's developer, has deemed Kingdom Come 2 a triumph, and they intend to prolong the game's commercial success by releasing 3 paid DLC packs. The first DLC they're calling Brushes with Death launches in the summer. The second DLC, Legacy of the Forge, arrives in fall, and the Mysteria Ecclesia DLC premieres in winter. So, if you're looking forward to playing the game, but you have no problem waiting, I'd suggest holding off until all the DLCs are released. There will very likely be a complete edition in the future that will include the base game and all of the DLCs that can be had close to the game's original launch price. The use of AI in media has steadily been on the rise, and as the years and months roll by, AI gets better and better at imitating humans. The rapid growth has been cause for concern by many in the arts and video games who fear that AI could spell the end of their careers. One actor, however, isn't scared in the least by AI. Harrison Ford, who is known for his work in Star Wars and Indiana Jones, said, "You don't need artificial intelligence to steal my soul. You can already do it for nickels and dimes with good ideas and talent." Harrison Ford is, of course, referring to Troy Baker's performance as Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Troy Baker is one of the greatest actors in the gaming space, and he simply disappears into the role and sounds a lot like Harrison Ford in this game. It is thanks to actors of his caliber that we can connect with video games on a molecular level, and because of that, the likes of AI will never be more than a cheap imitation of the human spirit. Hasbro has publicly announced that they have plans to adapt the trading card game known as Magic the Gathering for film and television. The news outlet, The Hollywood Reporter, wrote that Hasbro is working with media giant Legendary Entertainment to make their dreams a reality. Legendary Entertainment's chairman of worldwide production, Mary Parent, has said, "We pride ourselves on being thoughtful caretakers of singular beloved IP. And no property better fits that description than Magic the Gathering. Alongside the fantastic Hasbro team, we look forward to creating a multimedia universe that thrills long-standing fans and creates a broad wave of new ones." Since its inception back in 1993, Magic the Gathering has long stood as one of the great pillars in nerd culture. Over the course of its tenure, Magic has captured the imaginations of fans across generations, so it makes perfect sense to adapt Magic to a medium that the general public can enjoy. We'll have a breakdown on some of our hopes for this new cinematic universe with our guest this week, so stay tuned. The Super Bowl wasn't the only event making headlines this past weekend. PlayStation Network went down for 24 hours at the start of the weekend, leaving gamers everywhere, myself included, wondering what was going on. Sony attributed the outage to an unspecified operational issue. While Sony has apologized and offered PlayStation Plus members an extra 5 days of service, some customers are demanding a clearer explanation, citing concerns stemming from the infamous 2011 PSN hack that compromised millions of accounts. Back then, the PSN service was down for a whopping 23 days. Many users are questioning Sony's transparency and urging the company to outline steps to prevent future outages. We'll have to see if Sony responds with anything beyond what they already outlined, and we'll of course have the update right here on the show if they do. Now it's time to go over the video games releasing this week.
Games out this week.
On February 11th, Sid Meier's Civilization VII settles on all platforms. On February 12th, Jump King Quest leaps onto PC. And on February 13th, Metal Suit's Counterattack reloads on all platforms. Urban Myth Dissolution Center investigates PS5, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Then on February 14th, Valentine's Day, we get Weirdo experimenting on PC. Tomb Raider 4-6 Remastered releases on all platforms. The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak 2 shines on PS4, PS5, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Date Everything! And After Love EP Hookup on PS5, PC, Switch, and Xbox Series X and S. So that's the news for this week. It's now time to chat with our guest. Maude Garrett is back and joins us to chat about the announced Magic the Gathering cinematic universe, our casting picks, and overall hopes for the franchise.
Select game mode.
Hi, Maude. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Just vibing on a Sunday. Excited to talk some exciting developments in the world of cinema, which I think is really cool. I love all this.
I do too, and I love being a nerd, and I love when I know it's like probably controversial to say, but I like it when nerdy things that we did in our younger years is hitting mainstream.
Yeah.
Because obviously in the last 15 years, it's cooler and cooler to be a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we keep getting to celebrate our nostalgia in a big way and hopefully inspire new nerds, that's what I'm about.
I love it. Well, we're exactly in the heat of something that's happening in the Magic the Gathering world, which for those who don't know, it's a card game.
I was really, and so I think it was released by Wizards of the Coast back in 1993. And I remember when it came out, my brothers and I were really, really into it. And I liked the plain deck, not boring, as in planes, because there's water, fire, it's elemental kind of based. And you would build your deck based on sort of the element you want to tap. So I was really, really into it as a kid. My brothers would kick my butt. But I was really into sort of the trading card era because after that it was Pokemon. Before that I had one called Monster in my pocket, which I don't know if that is a deep sort of underground thing that no one's ever heard of. If you have, please let me know.
I have not heard of that.
I loved it. But yeah, it was definitely fantasy based. It was quite complex. And then I tried to play it about 10 years ago. Friends of mine who lived nearby would have MTG nights.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let's go, nerds. And this girl goes, okay, have you played before? I'm like, yeah, when I was a kid. She's like, great. And she obliterated me to the point where I basically never wanted to play again.
Oh, no.
She played an undead deck where she would just keep resurrecting all of her big hitters from her graveyard. And I was like, this is sadistic.
Mm-hmm.
You are enjoying hurting me. And so I stopped.
Oh, yeah. So that's your tale.
Shout out to that girl who ruined Magic the Gathering for me. Well done.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for sharing that trauma story.
Thank you. Yeah. I do feel a little lighter now. I feel
good. And maybe this will be good news because we know that Wizards of the Coast also has D&D, right? And they came out with that D&D movie,
which I
2 years
loved.
ago.
We watched it together.
We did. I remember we went to the movie theater and they had the whole, the screens on the side and it was throw us off a little bit. I forget what the tech is called for that.
So do
I.
I.
They have that. Yeah. And so we, but we enjoyed the movie. We were shocked.
Loved the movie.
Yeah. We went in with not really high expectations and were pleasantly surprised.
Well, the writers of the movie I got to interview at Comic-Con that year, John Francis Daly, who used to be in Freaks and Geeks as a D&D kid, and I forget the name of his writing partner, but they've done some very, very funny movies. They usually do comedies. And so the fact that they kind of really lived and breathed Dungeons and Dragons with that humor, and Chris Pine was such a get. He's so funny. So that
funny
movie was amazing.
Yeah.
And I wish it did better mainstream because I feel like people just assumed that it wouldn't be for everyone and so didn't watch it. But I think that even non-nerds could really have a good time with that movie. Now, the thing about D&D, it's a little bit like Magic the Gathering where everyone has a unique take on what it is because it's mainly your imagination. The trading cards, I guess, have a little bit more of a narrative behind it by building your deck out. But at the end of the day, they're cards. But I grew up with Yu-Gi-Oh! And, all of those literal trading card games that were turned into a property. And I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! As a series. So I think that they could build it out and expand it, and the world is their oyster. I just think that Magic the Gathering is so less mainstream and known
even more
than D&D.
That's right. So that was kind of my point was if you watch it, how D&D did, They're still making a sequel from what I've heard. So that's good news because I think it kind of built up a cult following post the release or the launch of the movie. So Magic the Gathering is going to be interesting to see, right, what they do. But they're owned by the same company, Wizards of the Coast, as we mentioned. And so, yeah, my thoughts are like, are they going to bring back the same writers who did D&D to hopefully hit that same success metric?
Apparently, no. Apparently, they're going to go. I read a little bit about it.
Oh, good.
Of course, I shut the
You
article.
did your research.
A little bit. Someone who was a showrunner on Star Trek, I believe, is going to
the most recent Star Trek reboots?
I think so.
Okay.
I could double check. I'm not going to.
Right.
But it's not going to be the same guys that did Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. So my question is that going to be hard to get people to get on board with the Magic the Gathering? They're calling it a cinematic universe. It's going to be TV shows and movies. Because to announce something without anything in the works, like officially yet, people have said that jumping the gun a bit, announcing cinematic universes before there's anything to show for could hurt it. But I don't know. I wanted to know your take on that.
I feel like this one, I kind of trust Hasbro teaming up with Legendary. Legendary's done a really good job. They have brought Dune to life, but they did Barbie. They're doing Monopoly. They're doing The Sims. Right. They're bringing franchises to life. And I think Hasbro is just like targeting nostalgia and bringing something that from our childhood into real life. And Barbie crushed it. And I think the smartest thing that Barbie did was make Mattel, literally the client, the villain. Like corporate greed. I thought, but they made bank from it. So I thought that was really clever. How are they going to do this one? Well, they say they're building out a movie and a TV series.
That's right.
Which I'm like, slow your roll. Like, just try and see if one can do a good job with
baby
this.
steps.
I couldn't tell you a single character from Magic the Gathering that I want to see brought to life, but I did jump on thegamer.com. And they did like an ideal fan casting. And some of the characters are Teferi Akosa, Jace Beleren, which I think I have heard of. Yep, I've heard that one. And they were saying that Dan Stevens, the British actor, would be great as him.
I haven't seen him in much lately. I would love to see him come back and do something fantasy-based or like period kind of pieces because he's been doing a lot of like current day kind of settings, which I would love to see him go back and do more, like fantasy based, like medieval.
Agree. Would love to see him in this. There's Chandra Nala and Liliana Vess. And they're saying that Charlize Theron should be Liliana Vess. What I am seeing, though, is incredible diversity in terms of these characters that can be brought to life, which is a lot of fun.
There's so much to play with in the lore. My personal thing that I would love to see is like Murlocs brought to life.
Hold on.
I don't know why.
Aren't they in World of Warcraft?
They are, right? So it would fit. They would fit.
I realized every time I would do an impersonation of someone vomiting, it sounded exactly like a Murloc.
Your impersonation is on point with that. Yeah.
Oh, man. I have definitely done a lot of grinding to killing Murlocs on the coastline in World of Warcraft. So, speaking of World of Warcraft, though, this article is suggesting that Rob Kaczynski, a friend of mine,
of World of Warcraft fame, he was in the movie.
He sure was. And they want to see him as a Johnny Goldmane, who is like this lion sort of humanoid character. And to that, I say yes.
Indeed. Yes.
I would love to see that. And I love it when actual nerds get to join a franchise that they live and breathe. Because a lot of the time, you'd interview someone who's doing a voice in Star Wars and you're like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? And they're like, I haven't really watched them. And you're like,
don't really watch it.
What?
I think if you look at, Henry Cavill, he kind of spearheaded that too with his nerddom and his, fan of The Witcher. And now he's bringing it to Warhammer franchise. So yeah, I think that's like the approach that a lot of these studios are taking, which is smart. I think like hopefully that's the route that Magic the Gathering goes. Of course, this was just fan casting, but yeah, in the future, I'd love to see more of that.
Yes. But yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. I really just need more information. Like, what is this going to look, feel, and sound like?
Yeah, I am hopeful that, with what they did with D&D and then, like you mentioned, Hasbro all the toy stuff that they're doing in the world of movies it's hopefully going to be, as successful, if not more so. So I'm keeping, I don't know, I'm going to keep a watchful eye. I do think that they should have maybe held off on the announce of this before they had something. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see what becomes of this. Hopefully it all gets made and it comes to fruition and we get to see what they have up their sleeve.
Here it is. This is the hot take for this one. It's the same team that's doing Minecraft. And this is another bringing a property to life. Mm-hmm. If they can pull off Minecraft, then I feel like Magic the Gathering will be in safe hands and will have, a strong leg to stand on.
Yes.
If Minecraft tanks, so will my optimism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. What are you playing right now real quick before we wrap up today? Is there anything you've got your...
Yes. Oh my God. So I was really into Marvel Rivals. Like I was playing that every single evening for a few weeks there. And then one of my amazing community members gifted me a game called Fields of Mystria, which is kind of like Stardew Valley, but everything that you kind of wish was tweaked with Stardew Valley, it's done here. So the gameplay is fantastic. It's very much in line of Stardew. About 80% of it is almost the same, including graphics, but there's just enough of a difference for it to be really refreshing. Let me tell you, I am clocking like 6-hour sessions in this game. I love it. It's really worth playing, and I think they're about to do a major update on it
very soon. Oh, yeah. Good.
But like the relationships with all the people in the town, like I'm invested in them. I'm like genuinely care about their character arc. I love it. And I'm fishing. All I do is fish.
Why does it always lead to that in these types of sim games?
I hate fishing.
For some reason, they nail it every time in those games.
Hate fishing in real life.
I know.
Love fishing and cooking in video games. I'm like, give me all the ingredients. Let me cook for you. And it's like, I don't even eat it. Like I'm just sitting there cooking. I'm like, what is going on? Oh, that reminds me. I have to cook my my beef stir fry tonight.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah,
well,
yeah. I hope I'm getting the name of it right. I feel like I played. Yeah, I got it. Fields of Mystery.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, Maude, it's always so fun having you on the show. I think of all the people I've spoken to who listen to our show, they always say, I love when Maude's on the show.
Oh, shush. That's sweet.
It's true. It's literally true. So I just wanted to say thank you as always. And have a great rest of your day and hope the stir fry goes well.
Thank you. It might not, but I've crushed it in a video game and that's all that matters.
It's all that matters. All right. Thanks, Maude. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Maude Garrett is a TV host and interviewer and founder of Maude's Book Club. You can follow her on Twitter at Maude Garrett.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's it for the news this week. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle. I had such a blast bringing you the news as I do every single week. And thank you all so much for continuing to listen to our show. Shout out to co-writer Josh Seaman for always helping put everything together. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a gaming-filled week. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.
An iHeartRadio experience to see Teddy Swims live. We'll hook you up with tickets, flights, 2 nights in Chicago, plus $500 spending cash. All you need to do, stream iHeart new music on the free iHeartRadio app for just 10 consecutive minutes a day. Another day, another shot to win. Details at iHeartRadio.ca. Don't miss Teddy Swims' new album, I've Tried Everything But Therapy, Part 2. Available now.